Hi guys, Elle here. Today I'm going to start a series of videos where I go through each and every tarot card one by one. This might be a massive undertaking, but I'm committed. It's going to happen. Okay, so what I am trying to do here is not necessarily give you, a Rider-Waite-Smith meaning and then a Golden Dawn meaning and a Tella meaning. You can look it up in any book on any website and find beautiful meanings, beautiful explanations of all the cards. What this really is going to be is more like a tour through my journals, almost. I am going to just sort of give you how I interpret each card, how I feel about each card, what the general gist, what the general meaning and energy of each card is for me personally. And I found when other people have done this that is so incredibly helpful to me. It's my synthesis of meanings. It's my view on the tarot. And it doesn't come from one place. It comes from lots of different sources. It comes from years of studying. I'm sure most of it will sound familiar to you. A lot of it comes from Rider-Waite-Smith and Golden Dawn and all those sources. What I personally love looking at is how they're all connected. What is each school of thought really getting at, and what's the big meaning of that card. So I want to try and give you that basic, it's still a range of meaning, I guess you could say, but the basic gist of each card, how I view it. And then I also really want to include here more practical examples of how that energy of each card plays itself out, and how it comes up in readings for me, like actual examples of that I find super helpful too. I've gotten a lot of requests from people asking me to do like a big intro to tarot or a beginner tarot kind of lessons or something like that. And I am gonna totally work on something like that and explain all the other aspects of tarot and tarot reading. But what better place to start than with the meanings of each and every card? And I did decide to start with the minor arcana as opposed to the major arcana because I feel like there is a lot more information on the majors out there. So I'm going to start today with the Ace of Wands. And I personally always read reversals, so I'm going to go ahead and include both upright and reverse meanings for each card, for each video. I pulled out, I have probably too many out here, but I pulled out some of my favorite examples for this video, the Ace of Wands. I'm going to try and keep things to a brief minimum since we're going to try and do 78 of these fuckers. Yeah, I'm gonna try not to go off on too many tangents. I'm not gonna go down, talk about things Kabbalistically too much or talk about things astrologically too much. I think that stuff is so good to explore, and it deepens your understanding of the card. It certainly has for me. But I think it's going to be good to do it this way, to just look at the basics of each card and how that plays out without pulling in all this other good stuff, but sort of unnecessary stuff when it even comes to just read it, Okay, so Ace of Wands. Here is our Marseille. This is the Jodorowsky Marseille. I like using this one as sort of a classic example of a Marseille because it's just cleaned up, it's crisp, and they're absolutely beautiful. So the Ace of Wands for me is really, I like that Golden Dawn way of looking at it, actually, where it's like this vital energy. It's all the aces really are kind of looked at that way, right? Like where they're the seed of potential. They encompass all the energy of that suit in potential form. So here in the fire suit, the suit of wands, the Ace of Wands is really getting at this source energy, this naturally occurring vital energy of the source of the universe. And it's not this created by you energy. It's not an invoked energy. It's this very natural, already existing energy. And I really like the Osho Zen version of this card, simply called the Source. perfect. It really taps into that understanding of where this energy is coming from, and then even what that energy feels like when you're sort of in it, you know. It's this rush of enthusiasm and vitality and passion and all those things associated with the fire suit, you know. Now, this energy is unfocused, it's unchanneled. It's raw and it's powerful. It can be overwhelming, and it's very unfocused. So I feel like it is up to you to decide what you're going to do with this influx of energy, this birth of energy. That's why there's all these associations of birth with this card. It's this new rush of energy. So yeah, it's up to you. You have to focus it. You have to channel it. You have to decide what you're going to do with it. This energy can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. It can be this motivation. It can be this courage. It can be this desire, even a sexual desire, an attraction for someone else. Again, all those classic fire associations. Your drive, your creativity. It's the energy of that this ace, this source is getting at. Now, to be able to focus this energy and actually use it, it's sort of existing in this seed form right now, in this thought world. It hasn't manifested yet. You are going to try and take this energy and manifest it in a way. It has to be focused and channeled. I know that I can actually relate to this energy a lot lately because I've been so excited about making like these videos and stuff, right? I have all this passion for it, and I wake up in the morning, I'm like, let's make a video, it'll be fun. But what ends up happening, I have all this fire and this passion and this drive, right? And I'll sit down to work on one video, and what happens is I end up cleaning the house, or I end up working on 5 videos at once, and I get absolutely fucking nothing done. I think everyone can sort of relate to that experience, right? Where you're so haphazard and so excited that you get absolutely nothing done. I think another aspect to that too is, this card often leads me to examine people's motivations, why they have all this excitement and why they have all this energy towards something. Is it, what's the end goal that's in mind there? If it is something positive and something that will help them grow, we can focus on that and channel that energy towards that. But if your motivations are something other, that's when you sort of get all those reversed meanings of the card sometimes, where it leads to like materialism and decadence and a fall, all those notions, right? Because you have all this energy, but you're putting them towards things that aren't going to help you grow. If you're being greedy, or you're being I don't know, just in search of praise, or whatever the case may be. If that's the motivation and that's where you're directing this Ace of Wands energy, it can have it can go either way. You can direct it towards something positive, you can direct it towards something negative, because at this point where we are in the Ace of Wands, it's undirected. But you can see, based on other cards or your feelings at the moment, your intuition, where they're might be headed. So one of the messages of this card also, I think, is in order to figure out how you're going to eventually spend this energy, where you're going to focus it, that it has to be focused. In general, you have to be grounded, you have to be centered, you have to think about what it is that you really do want to spend that on. Otherwise, that energy will just eventually fizzle out and die, and you won't have had the chance to do anything with it. So also with all these associations of the source energy and this burst of energy, like I said, birth becomes a part of it, the literal birth, or the birth of a new project, where you're going to send that energy. It's creating something new with this energy often. Even if it's not creating like a brand new project, it can be a sudden burst of energy towards that project, stuff like that. But back to the source, that whole source idea of this card, it's it can also have a lot to do with your literal roots, you know, your family, your race, where you come from, in that way. This energy can manifest even as simply as, you know, like I've heard it called like that breakthrough moment. I always like that. It's that moment when you realize, you know, what it is you want or who it is you want. It's that moment of realization of what you want, where you want to spend this energy on, what you're going after. A more psychological way to look at the Ace of Wands and how it plays itself out in readings sometimes on a more psychological level, I guess you could say, is that it can have to do with exploring different parts of yourself. And the Ace of Wands coming up would signify that there is a part of yourself, you can find that out through other cards in the rest of the readings where exactly it's pointing, but that it is a part of yourself that needs to be nurtured, that needs to mature, that needs to grow. I think no matter how old you are, or what stage of life you are in, we're constantly discovering or rediscovering parts of ourselves that we need to work on, and that need to be, that they need to have that energy put towards and focused towards. You know, they're very childlike aspects to all of us that we want to encourage to grow and succeed and better. So this is this card coming up saying that you need to put that energy towards maturing different aspects of yourself. Okay, let's take a closer look at how the Ace of Wands can come up for you in readings. You know, how that energy manifests in more specific kind of ways. Of course, it can be literally what we just talked about. But it can also, you know, it can point to where that spark is. You know, if it's laying in a reading and it's literally pointing at something, it can be that's you know, what you need to take a close look at. Maybe that's where you need to direct those energies. It's certainly come up for me a lot of times as this idea of like this wand or this baton or this club like beating you over the head. And I think it means that. I mean, not only because it looks like something might be beating you over the head, but I think it often, especially when it's reversed, can be talking about this stuff that you're sort of not seeing, you know, where this energy that it's sort of talking about needs to be directed, and you just sort of keep missing it, but these messages keep coming at you, but you're just not recognizing them on a more conscious level. So you sort of keep repeating the same things over and over again. It can be as simple as that. In a reading, a more practical way of looking at the Ace of Wands is, and it's come up like this a lot for me, that it is representing an opportunity to focus and channel this energy. Like an opportunity is coming your way and you have to jump on it. You have to take advantage of that. You know, someone will ask you to join in on a project or a new job or a relationship. You know, there's an opportunity to spend that energy there and express yourself, express your passion, express your creativity. It can even be pointing to like a creative solution to a problem, something sort of unexpected that will either that you'll come up with, or that you should come up with. You know, I've had it come up in readings where you know, you're looking at maybe two different paths to take or two different options, and then when the Ace of Wands comes up, it's like there's almost a third option, or like a more creative way of looking at these two paths. It's not so cut and dry, it's not so black and white. Get creative, there's another solution available in there, and you know, that may be when you draw more cards to see what that solution really is. In readings about relationships, it can point to your passions again. You know, what you're excited about, what you're passionate about, what's your motivation, what motivates you. But in a relationship reading, it can it can sort of mean that like you both partners or both people have some sort of a shared passion, and that's what unites them. That's if it's a new relationship, say, that's what you're going to go after. It's this chemistry that you have about this subject, or this, whatever the case may be, whether it's your job. That's what's going to bring you together. That may be the glue that binds a relationship together, this idea of shared passions. It can also even just mean that there is a huge amount of excitement because you had this revelation that this is the person for you. And now you just have to focus and channel that energy in a healthy way. Go after it. So I think that's a good time to sort of flip the card over. Let's take a look at the Ace of Wands reversed. I feel like I touched on what it's sort of getting at a little bit already, when you feel like you have all this energy and you spend it maybe on too many projects, and then you just squander that energy. That is definitely a part of the Ace of Wands reversed for me. I think that energy plays itself out in relationships quite a lot. It's a popular thing to get a tarot reading about, right? You want this person either back in your life or in your life, and because you've had this Ace of Wands moment where you realize that is what you want, that's the person you want. And I think that a lot of times people will spend all of that Ace of Wands energy on trying to create situations where they'll run into this person, or spend all that energy trying to make themselves look attractive or seem attractive to this other person. But I think what the Ace of Wands, if that sort of comes up, can be telling you is it's either like a no, or there's a delay, or there's a postponement. And again, because of this card's connection kind of to this source energy, it can have absolutely nothing to do with mistakes that you've made. It's just not time right now. It's just not gonna fucking happen. It can be the other person's not interested. It could be a myriad of reasons. But again, the Ace of Wands is telling you again you have to refocus that energy before it fizzles out and you're left drained and exhausted and empty, and unhappy and passionless. The Ace of Wands reverse can be telling you that opportunity that we were talking about with the Ace of Wands upright, that opportunity to express this energy, is not coming. It's not happening. So again, with this card, then you would have to look at different avenues, different paths to explore to express that energy, because it's there. It's not going anywhere at the moment. It will probably eventually fizzle out, but use it. It's helpful. The Ace of Wands reversed can be pointing you to this feeling of burnout and exhaustion, and I think if you look at it this way, like that energy is sort of that Kundalini energy, like I've talked about before in the wands, right? It's your energetic system. I think if that energy gets stuck in the lower chakras, it manifests in all sorts of strange ways, like this materialism and this obsession with sex and power and all those sorts of things. If you spend all that energy, that Ace of Wands source energy, if you spend it down here instead of on higher purposes or furthering your goals and your expression and your creativity, your passions and all that, it manifests in sort of unhealthy ways, and that's something that the Ace of Wands reversed can be getting at. Again, that's where you get all these reversal, Ace of Wands reversed keywords like decadence and materialism and like wasting away and burnout. It's the same thing when that energy sticks down here and you've had that moment, say, where you are obsessed with a person, for example. That's when it manifests as like obsession. It's not super healthy. You put all your energy into creating these situations where you'll run into that person, or you'll make yourself look nice for that person or seem attractive to that person. This is, again, it's that, it's maybe it's not going to happen because you're living down here, and it's not higher aspirations, you know. It's these low impulses. Maybe that's just your destiny at the moment to not be with that person, but you're being wasteful to that source energy, to that influx of energy. You know, you're spending it in unhealthy, unproductive ways. In a relationship reading, the Ace of Wands reversed also can have a lot to do with like dwindling passions. You know, they're not as strong as they once were. It may be even signaling the end of that relationship, if there's no longer this shared passion, or a passion for one person for the other person. But I think, you know, you have to remember this is reality, and relationships don't always stay like that, right? So it can even be signaling a growth in the relationship with an Ace of Wands. You know, it's moving from, you know, maybe some sort of a love affair into a more serious kind of a relationship, like a marriage, which isn't necessarily all about sex drive. It's about partnership. So yeah, it's come up like that for me. It's a new phase. It's a new energy. But at the same time, it's a dwindling of that other passion that you sort of shared maybe before. When the Ace of Wands comes up in, like, say you're looking at it in like a line of cards, right? And it's like before the Ace of Wands, upright or reversed, things feel like they're going one way, and then after the Ace of Wands, things feel like they're kind of changed and altered. And that's, again, it's signifying that, at least for me, it's signifying that moment of realization, maybe this thrust of energy, and this moment when you know what you have to do. So things can be completely changed and completely altered after versus before this revelatory moment. I do have a few other associations that sort of go hand in hand with the Ace of Wands before I show you some more cards here. You know, upright, yes. Reversed, no. That's a negatory. I do have a decan that I associate with my Ace of Wands. I do prefer like this system where it's the ace through the 9 that is associated with, or each card being associated with 10 degrees of each sign of the zodiac. So for me, this is Mars in Aries, 1 to 10 degrees Aries. And it is, you'd be surprised actually. I know that most Golden Dawn people would associate it differently. Theirs would be, that association would be made with the 2 of Wands. But to look at these things astrologically, dude, they still, it works so good here and in this system. And I can understand the other system, but this makes more sense to me. It's also associated with the dates March 1st through March 10th. It is obviously associated with fire. It's associated with the Kabbalistic world of Keter and Atziluth. I think the suit of wands in general, you know, often has a lot to do with the sexual desire and sexual potency. And this card can definitely have a lot to do with especially, male potency, male fertility, especially, you know, upright, reversed. So that's one way that you can look at it also. And it's even associated with the first day of the first quarter of the moon. These are just some of my other associations. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other cards that I pulled out here. I just pulled some of my favorite examples of the Ace of Wands. Well, some classics. I already showed you the classic Marseille Ace of Wands. This is 2 different colorations of the classic Rider-Waite-Smith Ace of Wands. Woo! I like on the Thoth card actually on Crowley's Ace of Wands that he pulls like these yods that are kind of on the Marseille there too, incorporates them into like the fire on the torch, and yods can be symbolic of like this sort of seed form. It's like this the seed or the structure, geometrically speaking, of the rest of the Hebrew alphabet. Like Aleph is made up of like, 4 yods basically. So it's really getting at that seed fire potential idea there. I also really love the Deviant Moon Ace of Wands. It gets at all these different things. It gets at that idea of birth and fire and growth. I think you see that growth idea on a lot of cards too. You know, the budding wand on the Rider-Waite-Smith, budding clubs, wands on a lot of old cards. I even really like this one from the Estensi Tarot. That's the Ace of Wands. It's like this dude up in a tree. Again, that budding and growth of the tree, but he's also up there right by the sunlight, getting in touch with that source energy. This is a cool one too. This is the Medieval Scapini, and it's got, again, all those ideas in one card. You have the budding wand there, budding tree. I love that they're in the shapes of like clovers or clubs. Isn't that great? And then the fire at the top. We gotta talk about this deck. This is a good deck. There's a ton of symbolism on these cards. They're amazing. This is the Ace of Fire from the Orbifold Tarot. A beautiful, simple way to look at that energy expressed geometrically in a simple circle, with the red for the fire, which really actually looks a lot like the. Isn't that cool? The what is this deck? The Osho Zen. There we go. And then I have my tarot card. This is how I decided to use my Ace of Wands. That's an Alex Gray image, but it's for me, it's, you know, you can see that energy coming down into him energetically, and then at the same time he's also taking that energy and moving it. He's controlling it. He's directing it. So I just adore that image for the Ace of Wands. Hello. Hello. Ah! I already came to visit. Say bye. Okay, so that's my general gist of the Ace of Wands. I hope you guys found this helpful in some way, shape, or form. There's like 77 more videos to go, but I think that they're gonna be fun. This was fun. I'm gonna try and keep them semi-brief, and if you guys have any more questions or any more to add, even, I'd love to hear your guys how you go about interpreting it, different ways that the Ace of Wands has come up for you in readings that that may be sort of interesting or different. Yeah, by all means, share, make a video, put a comment. I love other people's interpretations of the cards. That'll do it for the Ace of Wands. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.